Hello everyone, this is Raela with KittyBit.
And sashimi.
And we are here to take a look at the Day 1 patch notes. Well, I kind of like to think of them as the negative Day 1 patch notes since they started them a day early. Or, I guess you could think of them as the Day 6 patch notes if you're starting from the early access. So these are the patch notes they are implementing in Anthem after multiple issues were identified during the early access for Origin Premiere. So we're going to take a look at them and see what we've got. And if you're not playing until the Day 1 with a worldwide release, we'll be offering a little bit of insight along with each one of these to kind of give you some insight as to why they implemented these. So, high-level fixes. These are important ones. Decreased loading time for older disk drives. This is huge. We were playing with a bunch of friends, and they were loading in. They didn't have SSDs. They were loading in like a full minute, 2 minutes after us. That has now been cut down significantly. We've noticed they are actually loading in like maybe 20-30 seconds after us, which is a significant improvement.
Yeah, sometimes even less than that.
Yeah, they've done a lot for this, and I imagine they're going to continue to streamline it as they go. Let's see. Next is fixed mini infinite loading screens.
I never ran into one of those, but I bet whoever did is very glad to see that.
I ran into a few, and I can say that I'm definitely glad they did this. This happened a lot at the end of a mission, which was really horrible. You finish the mission, and then boom, it would infinite load, and you'd have to end task it to get out of it, and it would not save the progress. You'd have to do the mission all over again. It was murder. This has gotten a lot better from what we've seen so far. Fix multiple challenges not tracking properly. This is a big one for me. I am a big user of autocannons, assault rifles, shotguns, and grenade launchers, and I haven't gotten the blueprints that I deserve for the. I haven't gotten my challenge blueprints for like epics and masterworks because these weren't tracking. So. This is great. They've now started tracking properly. They didn't unfortunately fix it. They didn't true it up. Like what I had done wasn't put into the game, so I will have to fill the bars again, meaning I have to do the challenges again. But for those of you just starting on the worldwide release, you'll be good. This was definitely a big one to fix. Number of issues have been fixed that were causing players to disconnect or crash. This was a bit of an issue. These are good. It's been really smooth so far. We've had a bit of lag, but no crashing. Weapons and gear now have numbers present for modifiers. This is good. Just a bit more information on the screen because things have been a little bit vague so far, but this is good for identifying.
Isn't that where like some of the stuff would come up with a 0% added to some stat?
Yeah, they weren't actually the factors and modifiers on the weapons down below. On the bottom of the weapon weren't showing up correctly, so. Let's see here. General fixes and improvements. Loot reveal and expedition summary now correctly played during the end of the expedition screen. That's good. That's a nice one, so you know exactly what's going on. Gather party mechanic has been made more lenient in a number of situations.
That one's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, anything that helps the matchmaking out and getting your party together is always a good thing for multiplayer.
Our friends loading late would like load dead in the battle area.
Yeah, we got to a point where if we moved too far into the mission, they would actually load up dead, and sometimes they couldn't be revived. At the end of an expedition, players would no longer get stuck on the recording victories or skipping all. This is good because if you tried to skip them, sometimes it would actually freeze or it would get stuck. So this is good. Anywhere that it got stuck, no one wants to get stuck looking at a screen all night. Game no longer hangs in javelin menu when unlocking the second, third, or fourth javelin. This is good. It's more progress, quality of life. You don't end up getting stuck on a screen. During the mission, what freelancers do, dying after killing Junk Maw and freeing Arcanist leaves you unable to progress. This has been fixed. That's good. That was another mission where you'd go in, you'd do the objectives, and then boom, there would be no other objective. You would just get stuck and have to restart. Challenges now unlocked for players at the correct levels. This is good. We were actually seeing a lot of challenges that were not opening either at the right levels or they weren't opening at all, so this is definitely a good one. Fix some camera issues during cutscenes. I heard this was an issue for a few people. I never saw this myself.
Which is too bad. It was probably funny.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of dig when the camera flips out during cutscenes. It can be great for comedy. It can be really bad for trying to keep a story serious, though, I guess.
Yeah.
Legendary contracts can now be accepted from the Social Hub contract board. That's just more of a quality of life thing. I don't actually use the Social Hub all that much myself, but I imagine for the folks who do, that's nice. Some enemies have had their shield value decrease. This is really good because too many of the snipers...
Oh, yeah, they were like tanks. Like, what?
Yeah,
Why?
like, you're a freaking sniper. Why are you taking full, like, 3 or 4 clips to drop with an autocannon? It makes no sense. Let's see. Loot now properly drops for players who are downed. This is really good. There were a lot of people that were getting shafted on drops. They would be downed when the monster would die or when the mission would end or something like that, and then loot would actually disappear at times too, so this is really good. Especially if you're an interceptor because, well, they still need to implement a few buffs on those guys because they're still getting down really easily in Grandmaster and above. The texture quality on NPC Prospero has been improved. I'm not sure what...
There was like no issue. He looked fine.
Prospero looked fine to me.
Maybe I was missing something, but
maybe someone had a complaint on that one. I don't know. I'd have to do a little more research. He looks fine to me. All the NPCs do. Let's see. Final boss of Strongholds now drop loot instead of only being shown on the end of expedition screen. This actually had us worried, especially with the Tyrant Mine boss, the Scorpion Queen. She or the Tyrant, whatever her name is. She never dropped any loot, so we were always like,
that's not cool.
Yeah, we just beat this boss. Where's my stuff? But they're saying it was in the end. I never counted my loot to make sure that we were getting extra loot, so who knows if we were actually getting the rewards, but hopefully. Now she bleeds loot. That's always fun. I just like to see a reward or a boss drop tons of stuff too. It's satisfying.
Or at least some kind of indicator at the end that this was dropped from the boss.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like seeing diamonds fly out of your boss after you beat it? Fix the timeouts on echoes and relics to prevent griefing and handle disconnections properly. So, we always play with friends, so we don't have any issues with this, luckily. But I could definitely see how in free play or with randos, how you could go in and someone could grab an echo and then run away.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that, and I was like, you know what? They totally could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could totally grab an echo and just be like, bye guys, have fun. You're not going to be able to complete your objectives. So that's good. So that will help out because there are jerks out there, unfortunately. And it says when you're disconnected, I guess if people got disconnected, they could lose the echoes. So that's bad too. Players can no longer fall through the floor during the third trial in the Fortress of Dawn.
It's always good. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's always good to not fall through the floor. I mean,
yeah.
Come on. Who likes to fall through the floor? Let's see. Next, we've got completing the tutorial expedition will now show the correct ranger appearance. That's cool to show exactly what you are. I mean, I've actually seen a storm get warped up, or like warped with a colossus, and it actually looked like a freaky, messed up hybrid of a javelin.
Weren't there issues with them coming back looking like completely generic too, with like the default colors?
Yeah, they wouldn't store the customization at all. They would just look like whatever. Just yeah, like the ones that they start with. Let's see here. After disconnecting, completing the tutorial expedition will now show the correct. We just watched that one. Sorry. After disconnecting, rejoining an expedition will now place you back into the squad if you were in one previously. This has actually been a feature since the beginning.
It already did that, so I'm not really sure.
They were probably having connection issues with some. We were actually in Origin parties with our friends, so I don't think there's a problem if you do it like that, but with randoms, maybe.
And maybe on the consoles it was a problem or something. I really like this feature, though. I thought that was too cool. Yeah,
I mean, it gets you back into the action much quicker, especially when you're getting bounced out of a game regularly because of server issues. It's great to have. Corrected an issue where the player could not interact with each other in the launch bay in certain circumstances. Like I said, we don't use the launch bay too much, but I'm sure this is cool for the folks who do. Corrected an issue during the mission Bad Deal where outlaws won't spawn, blocking progress. We all like progress, and we never. It's definitely a bad deal when you can't get your mission completed. So. Always good to have the ability to complete your missions. The start of expedition screen has been improved. Yes, more information, more streamlining. Always better to improve your UI.
That aesthetic, maybe?
Yeah. Addressed a variety of situations where killing enemies does not properly progress world events. Again, progress. We all love progress. That's what we're here for. That's why we play games, to, feel the achievement and getting somewhere in the game and, making it. And if we don't have the progress, we get angry. So, thanks for that. Opening a chest now increments Tomb of the Legionnaire progress for all squad members present. This is actually really good because if you went into free roam to get your chest, one of the doors for the tombs, we actually made a video for this as well. One of the tombs requires you open 15 chests within the world. You actually had to open the chest yourself. And if you went into free play and your other members in your squad were opening them away from you and you didn't get to open them, then you weren't getting progress. So this shares the progress.
Forever.
Yeah, and you can't do free play alone. You have to do it in a squad. So this is very efficient. So you can actually go into a free play mode, spread out, and grab them chests. Scar snipers can now no longer be shot through the storm shield. This is actually really good for, I guess, the immersion. The Scar snipers, in my opinion, they can no longer shoot through the storm shield.
Yeah, so they're not just ignoring shields. That's always good.
Yeah, I saw a couple of friends, they were on storms, and I actually saw where they would put up the shield, and the first shot would be a headshot, and they'd just get one-shotted, so this is a good thing. It's good to not die that fast, especially once you're in the Grandmaster difficulties. Corrected an issue where players would get stuck on the end of the expedition screen in some situations. Again, it's good not to get stuck, so that's another quality of life, and, less frustration is always great. Players will no longer get disconnected if joining the Finding Old Friends mission while the cinematic is playing. This is good.
Watch this cutscene. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to not get disconnected, so. Addressed a number of situations where players can get stuck in the environment in the launch bay. Well, the launch bay being the social area, we don't use it very much, but hey, people are going to run around and they're going to find glitches like that, so fix them as you get them, I guess. Increase the damage of the electrical status effect. This is good. Electric is one of my favorite elements as a Colossus. I love mixing lightning and fire, so this is good. If it goes both ways, that's going to hurt, because when you get electrocuted, that's going to suck, but it's good. I like more damage, so. Corrected an issue where the Shield of Dawn could not be crafted with less, or could be crafted with less materials than intended in some situations.
Maybe some people would be sad, but I mean, it is cheating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really typically go for exploits, but I mean, some people might have helped them out, but it's better to be on straight and narrow, right? The Platinum Mission feat now grants completion as intended. Again, progress. Our feats, we definitely like. We like our feats. We don't like our feats to be taken away. So, status effects can be more reliably applied to Titans.
Honestly, I never saw one actually successfully get applied.
I saw them
really irritating.
Very rarely, and that hurt me as a Colossus, because I love to use the flamethrower mixed with the lightning. And yeah, against Colossi, I was largely useless because I couldn't get my combos to go properly, so it kind of hurt me. Fixed loading animations on marksman rifles. Well, I like animations, don't you guys? It's good when they load correctly. Players can now access the vault from the forge. This is really good because, I mean, you have to actually hold a button to get out or into the forge. So
and you have to walk somewhere else. Like, what?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like Monster Hunter, how you can go in and out of your house and access different areas. It's a quality of life improvement. It saves a little bit of time, and I think it's good. And your inventory will constantly need to be salvaged lest you run out of space.
Well, especially if you play as more than one and you want to get rid of some older stuff that, like, another dude has equipped, then you can just go out and fix that and go back in real fast without having to run around. Yeah,
it's more streamlined, less loading screens, and in Anthem, less loading screens is definitely a good thing. Let's see. Swimming into jellyfish underwater no longer leaves visual effects stuck on players. This makes me sad.
Yeah, that is kind of too bad, but man, it did that consistently.
Yeah, if you ran into a jellyfish, so if you guys weren't playing this during the early release, if you ran into a jellyfish, it would apply. You'd come out of the water you'd be sparking constantly. You were like a little fireworks show, and I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was fun. It looked like you had some kind of cool armor, or maybe like a short circuit somewhere. It was pretty cool. Idle animations will no longer sync up over time in the launch bay. Launch bay again. Imagine this is a quality of life thing, but if idle animations could sync up, I don't know. This sounds like that could have been kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you could sync dancing better when they add that.
Like a bunch of people in the launch bay all of a sudden are just doing all the exact same idle animation. I mean,
I would love if you did a dance party. If you'd sync up, like it would look better.
Well, I'm sure they didn't want dancing in the beginning because they didn't want even more comparisons to Destinies. Halleck is no longer dual-wielding canes in the epilogue scene.
Oh no, man! I'm sad I never got to see that.
I actually saw this one. I thought my eyes were messing with me, or I thought I missaw it because I didn't pay too much attention to it, and I saw it near the end of the scene. But this was, yeah.
It's fine in mine. Oh man.
Hey, maybe. Gypped. Sometimes the leg really hurts and you got to bust out that second cane, right?
I love how they said he's no longer dual wielding.
Their wording on it is great. Is no longer dual wielding canes.
That's wonderful.
Corrected an issue where players could not interact with each other in the launch bay in certain circumstances. Again, launch bay, but that sounds like a real problem. And yeah, definitely need to fix anything where you can't be social in a social space. Mm-hmm. Fixed an issue that would cause players in the launch bay to have identical emotes and be unable to use them. Again, same thing. You want to be able to communicate. Interceptor melee ability animations will no longer stretch out in certain situations. This is good because as interceptors right now, they have a big problem in Grandmaster and above difficulty. They tend to get one or two shot very easily, and since their best damage is in melee range, they need as few animation frames as possible. I mean, it's good to be flashy, but it's also really good to be simple and master the basics because, yeah, you're going to die if they hit you. So
I really want them to have it so that you lock better onto one enemy at a time, because they tend to, you'll be comboing one and then they'll like shoot off in a random direction. Like, no, I still want to be attacking this dude. He's not dead yet.
You hear that, BioWare and EA? Improve shooting. We demand it.
Improve shooting. Less shooting.
Yes. We need more control over the shooting.
Please.
Corrected an issue where the default ranger appearance doesn't preview in the forge in some situations. So the default ranger seems to be a problem. I mean, why is this guy such a troublemaker, this default ranger? His appearance is in everything and it's causing problems everywhere. So they just need to have a talk with him and tell him to simmer down. All animations now play as intended in the forge. Well, that's cool. I like animations.
Yes,
and it's great that they do. Players can now enter the Tomb of Gwaines in Gwans. But the Tomb of Gwanyas, whatever. While in a party. Yes, this is really good because before, if you didn't play during early access, if you tried to enter it during a party, there would be some issues. Your party members would basically explode, disappear, and sometimes they would come back, sometimes they wouldn't. The default javelin wear state has been changed from dirty to old.
I guess that makes you feel a little better about how you look. Like it's not that you're just covered in dirt; it's just old.
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, I get
But
it.
then that makes no sense for like when you get Ranger, like okay, or even a Storm. A Storm, they actually say this is brand new Dominion tech, state of the art. Yet you get one that's old. Or when you get the new Ranger, it's like the Ranger Mark II just came from Anthem. It's like, oh, it's the best thing. I've never even seen one of these in person, is what your engineer says.
They were lying.
It's old.
They're trying to sell you an old mattress.
God dang it. Sentinel Loyalty 2 text no longer incorrectly states that it will lead to a larger vault. I was actually really wondering on this because I'm almost at Sentinel Loyalty 3, and my vault never changed, and that kind of irritated me. I was really hoping that this fix would be that it would get you the better vault, so we're just going to take that out, huh? Okay.
Maybe they were going to have something, and then they decided, nope, never mind.
Nah, not for you. Well, anytime you have characters, if you make it so they can have more items, that's more memory load on their servers. So I figured they might do that, but that's one of the big problems plaguing Fallout 76, one of many.
I can see that.
Picking up ammo from the ground properly gives you 30% of that ammo back into the current magazine and the magazine's spare ammo.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
This is a high-end quality of life upgrade right here. This means less reloading, and it really helps keep the action going instead of like running out of ammo and be like, oh my god, where's the ammo? And then you have to get it and completely reload. So. Fixed a bug where some global Javelin icon inscription bonuses were not being properly applied to the Javelin and or gear or weapons. These are the actual inscription bonuses. This is what you were talking about, where they're getting like the 0% and other bonuses. So this one's definitely big. Fix some issues that could cause the armor pip count on the UI to break and not display properly. Yeah, this right here is really big because us playing with friends, we basically have a ton of friends, or the people we were playing with.
We have so many friends.
No, not really. But we would be playing with them, and they would all say, they would have level item or power level 300 something javelins, and it would say forevermore 3 power. And they were a common ranger forever, even though they were a rare colossus or something. Mm-hmm. Strongholds. Fixed an issue that would cause the Stronghold server to crash after defeating the last boss. This was an extreme problem. It's so extreme I'm moving the screen. But yeah.
For emphasis.
This was really bad. This was the one we were talking about earlier. You would beat a last boss, and you'd have to load the game again to get back into it. It was very frustrating. Temple of the Scar. Players no longer get stuck in the mine tunnel in the explosives room. So in the Temple of the Scar, it's the second stronghold. The explosives room actually had a ton of problems with it, and it looks like they fixed a number of them. You could get stuck in the mine tunnel and not be able to get out. Temple of the Scar player can no longer be blocked from entering so you could get locked into it. You could get locked out of it, and fix tyrant mines so people that join the stronghold in progress do not end up locked away from their team. This was another problem in the first stronghold tyrant mine. You could get locked in a hallway behind one of their fog walls, and you just couldn't join in until you got teleported to them. And sometimes that wouldn't work. Adjusted lighting in the tyrant mine underwater section to make it easier to navigate. This is good because
the water everywhere is real dark. You go underneath, it's real disorienting. You can't see where you're going.
It's more realistic and immersive, but it was to the point where whenever we would play this with randos or people who hadn't done the mission yet, we would have to stop and wait at the door for them because they would get lost in the water always. The Swarm Tyrant will no longer get stuck in the side cave entrances. In some situations, this is good because this would keep you from finishing the boss or being able to attack it. And sometimes it would be good. Sometimes she would get stuck, and you could sit there and just blast her, and she wouldn't be able to do anything to you.
Yeah, but if she gets far enough, she's invulnerable.
Yeah. Correct an issue where the player would spawn into different areas of the tyrant mine in certain situations. Yeah, that's no fun, getting spawned into the wrong spots in the mission. Implemented more safeguards to stop players from going AFK in strongholds. We ran into this with a couple of people.
It really wasn't that much of an issue, but I could see it being a problem.
Yeah, people are going to want... Because it was if you were AFK and the rest of everyone could go and complete the mission, you would still get rewards. You just wouldn't get drops from specific monsters unless you went and actually picked them up. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. You run into that in just about every game. Challenges. Only Masterwork items can now be used to progress Masterwork challenges as intended. Yeah, there were a few issues. I heard of some people getting, it was actually counting weapons below Masterwork toward this challenge, so it was getting done easier for some people. My tickers weren't working at all, so I have to do almost all the challenges from scratch after this update. Corrected an issue where some challenges track progress simultaneously instead of incrementally as intended. EX Blast Missile 1, then Blast Missile 2, instead of both incrementing at the same time. I actually did get one of these. I think it was for the sniper rifle. I got it 1 and 2 at the exact same time, which was kind of cool, but they probably fixed that and took it away from me and threw it into my undone challenges again. Gear and weapons. After having first pilot pilot suit unlock after tutorials. Creating a new pilot and going to Forge no longer causes loading screen hang. That's always good. We don't want to look at loading screens any longer than we have to. Ice damage bonuses are now correctly applied on ice gear. That's always good. Suit-wide bonuses from inscriptions are now functioning properly. We had a few of these where the different bonuses from your weapons or armor or your components were not working properly. So you don't want your bonuses to say they're there and not be there, right? Players can no longer salvage equipped items. So this was working as intended for us. We still cannot. We've never been able to salvage an equipped item. But I can imagine that with how slow the salvaging system currently is, there were some people probably hitting that button really fast, and they probably salvaged some stuff they didn't want to.
Yeah,
so
getting impatient.
Javelin-specific gear and or weapons no longer able to be used on javelins they aren't intended for. It's good and bad. You could actually get some pretty fun bonuses by mixing up some of these. I'm going to kind of miss this one.
Yeah.
Corrected an issue where, in some circumstances, Masterwork components do not have any inscriptions.
Ooh, that would be bad.
Masterworks are supposed to have 4 inscriptions. You take those away from me, and that thing is as good as a common weapon outside of the damage, and that's no bueno. So, big fix right there. Let's see. The Endless Siege Masterwork autocannon no longer displays a damage increase of 0 in its tool percent tip. Or 0% in its tool tip. That's always good.
Hopefully we're seeing no more 0% anywhere.
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, so this one, the Endless Siege was actually a pretty funny one. There were a few posted on social media. So this is an autocannon that would get bonuses based on what its attacks and hitting enemies, I believe. And it would have a stack. So it would actually say instead of 0%, it would be like 0% increase with 0 hits and stack 0 times. So the whole thing was wrong. Suit-wide specific weapon ammo bonuses coming from infusions are now correctly applied. That's actually good. You don't want your gear to be... you don't want your ammo bonuses to be incorrect. A network error message no longer appears when opening an item chest in the second tutorial. I actually got this a couple of times while I was trying to plan out like treasure chest spots, and yeah, I ran into this. It was kind of a weird thing, but nothing game breaking. Colossus shoulder gear will now share the appearance of the rest of the javelin as intended. This is great because my shoulder gear was screwing my color scheme up, and it irritated me.
Oh, you couldn't change it?
No, it'd be like I have this big blue or gray shoulder cannon, and the rest of me is in 7 colors, so... Deadeye has increased spare ammo from 10 to 20. This is really good because ammo was a big problem with Deadeye. Cloudburst has had increased damage increase from 16.3 to 21. This is good.
Stuff, yeah.
Torrent has increased damage from 22.2 to 28.6. Let you guys take a look at the screen here for these, because that's just a bunch of me reading numbers and no one wants to hear all that.
Yeah, this is balancing.
This one here is actually pretty good, though, for Ranger. Pulse Blast is now going to deal extra damage to shields. Previously did extra damage to armored. Blast Missile for Ranger now scales up in damage to item level as item level increases. That's good because Blast Missile was highly underpowered later on because it was not scaling. Interceptor. Melee attacks now have some minor resistance penetration. This is really good for their damage. Unfortunately, it does nothing for their defense, unless you consider the fact that if you kill it quicker, it is less of a threat.
Yep, there is that.
Large area of effect abilities will better register multi-kill activities for challenges and medals. That'll be great for combos or blast weapons. Let's see. Spark damage functionality or spark dash functionality has been significantly improved when the target enemy is at a different height, above or below the interceptor. You're an interceptor, right? Did you ever have any issue with spark dash?
I don't really recall. I mean, just melee in general, it had a hard time locking on to a specific enemy, but I didn't notice this particular problem.
Well, a friend of mine, Nick, he actually was quite irritated with Spark Dash's functionality. He got used to it, and to the point of where he could use it, but I remember he was having He did take issue with a few issues on this, so spark dash functionality is definitely a good thing. Several gear pieces have had missing primer or detonator icons have been fixed. That would be for Interceptor, you got Tempest Strike, detonator icon, Spark Dash detonator icon, Venom Spray primer icon, and Detonating Strike primer icon. For the Colossus, Lightning Coil detonator icon, Shock Coil primer icon, and Flamethrower primer icon. Several improvements have been made to ensure gear use on PC prioritizes turning the javelin toward the reticle when used rather than casting in front of the javelin's current direction. This is actually really good for Spark Dash because one of Nick's biggest complaints about Spark Dash was that he had to actually go and face his javelin and get his camera behind him to get it. And it's the same with Provoke. For the Colossus, we actually only could hit a cone and get the enemies to attack us if they were in a conal direction in front of the javelin, not where our camera was pointed. So
that does remind me of something that really bothers me. If you're trying to raise someone and they're not in your camera, it doesn't work. You lose your progress. So like if you're using your special and you lose your special halfway through trying to raise somebody and your camera zooms back in, it stops getting them up.
Yeah, you mean when you revive them while they're on the ground. Yeah, that'll definitely help. Yeah, raise is more of a Final Fantasy term.
It's the same thing.
Okay, so javelins. The Colossus Javelin is now able to activate its shield more quickly and use an ability or firing a weapon. That is really good. It was pretty slow. The Storm Javelin now reacts to getting hit when the shields are up. There's going to be a few storms that are going to be mad about this. But I mean, when you have your shield up, you're kind of invulnerable and no reaction. It was kind of broken because everyone else reacts. Even the Colossus, when taking a big hit, can be knocked back, and you have several seconds before you can even do anything again.
That doesn't seem right.
Fixed an exploit that allowed the Storm's ultimate attack to be used more times than intended. So again, this I guess is going to be considered these would probably be considered nerfs for Storm by a few. The Colossus EXO can now shield and revive at the same time. This is really good because you might as well give me my ambulance vinyls now because, I've always wanted to be able to revive with the shield up. This is going to make it so the Colossus is a tank and also kind of a medic for everyone at this point. So, Interceptor combo aura has been increased in power and now has a damage over time component. So it looks like Interceptors, yet again, are getting buffed on their attack power, but still not on their defense. What I think they should do is that and EA and BioWare, I really doubt you're ever going to listen to me, but I would recommend you throw a little bit of the Jedi into the Interceptors, and while they're swinging their melee weapons, any regular bullets, not missiles or anything, but regular oncoming fire, could be reflected back. Like, so if someone is meleeing with an Interceptor, and a bullet comes in and it just happens to hit where the melee is landing, it could possibly reflect the bullet back. That way the Interceptor takes a little less damage, deals some in other directions outside of just focusing on one enemy.
That'd be nice.
And also, maybe give them a little bit of damage resistance while they are engaged with an enemy. Say, not while they're meleeing, period, but if they're actually making contact with an enemy, have their aura give them a little bit of damage resistance. I think that would go a long way toward making Interceptor more viable for the endgame. Let's see here. Ranger Melee now has a cooldown when striking in the air. Yes, this was really good for Rangers. You could just pretty much ground pound your way to victory. You could just keep jumping and slamming and jumping and slamming. It was actually pretty fun. It's gonna be sad to see it go. The target beacon ability now correctly seeks targets. This is good because you don't want any of your abilities to improperly detect targets, especially when that's what they do. Spark Dash and Venom Spray now target based on player cursor instead of character facing. This is what we were talking about earlier. This is going to make Spark Dash far more viable in the long run, which is really good. And Spark Dash helps with survivability a little bit. Helps you move around more, so... The Colossus will no longer be knocked out of the sky in some situations when the attack was blocked by their shield. I had this a few times. I would actually be flying I like to fly directly toward turrets with my shield up, get behind them or directly under them, and fire at the gas tank. There were many times where a bullet would hit me while I was shielding, and I would just get knocked straight out of the sky, almost like I went up into the clouds and the vortex knocked me down. So good to see that go away. Combos and status effects. Combo indicator icons above creatures are now correctly removed when detonated. When storm detonates an electric status effect, the chained electric effect now correctly deals damage, and combo damage now penetrates resistances. So combos are going to be far more effective from now on, especially penetrating resistances. That's going to be great against enemies with high armor or shields, such as the enforcers. Let's see here. The indicator icons is actually really good because there were several times I was trying to set off a primer, and yeah, I couldn't because apparently it had already been detonated, but it was still saying it was ready to go. So crafting. Non-masterwork materials purchased from the crafting store now show as their proper rarity instead of incorrectly showing as masterwork. A number of javelin components have had different icons for their recipes, and the actual items are now the same. Battle Cry gear recipe now has the correct description. Fixed spark beam gear having the wrong description when being crafted. Crafting recipes are now sorted alphabetically, and the items in the crafting store are now sorted by type to be clearer. These are all just quality of life upgrades for the store. Controls. Additional mouse and keyboard control improvements have been made. This is great if you use mouse and keyboard. Yes, your cow and me board. If you use those things, then hopefully you'll be able to fly a little bit better, because I've been hearing that it's still a little bit difficult. For UI, these are probably going to be mostly quality of life. Some conversations are not popping up in the reputation points post conversation completion. This has been fixed. That's good. The squad screen now displays the correct information for each player. That again is really good, so you know exactly what power level each of your friends are at. So
yeah, I guess that's never been right.
Fixed a number of issues where subtitles will no longer get stuck on the screen after dialogue is finished as often. This actually happened to me one night so badly. I had dialogue piled up almost to the top of the screen that would not go away. And it was just from me passing NPCs, just walking by them, and the subtitle would get stuck on the screen. And it kept doing it and doing it and doing it. I had to leave town because my screen was covered in text. Let's see. Settings should no longer reset upon exiting and restarting the game on Xbox One. Considering the console hasn't dropped quite yet, this is more of a beta issue, but that'll be good for the consoles. Motion blur can now correctly be turned off. This is really good because motion blur really bothers a lot of people. I personally hate it myself. I don't use it. And I was having some issues where I couldn't get it to turn off. I had to reset the game a few times for it to get it to work. The electric status now shows scaled damage properly. That's good. An option has been added to hide the squad member HUD. That's actually really cool because I like to clean up my screens. The edge of the compass will now pulse to indicate enemy locations. This is really good. Another notifier, a little bit more spatial awareness. That's good.
Yeah, there's generally a lot going on, so that is helpful.
Yeah, it is good to know where they're at. Let's see here. I wish they need to do that for when a team member is down, because right now it's kind of like Division, where if a team member is down, they could be sitting right at your feet, and the icons for them are so subtle that you don't even you're focused on the action. You don't even half the time realize that someone is down.
I mean, if you're in the habit of looking at bars on the side of the screen, you can see it there, but if you're not, then yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, you being a white mage. Let's see here. Notification has been added in Fort Tarsus if a player's vault is at the cap of 250 items. That's pretty cool. You can help each other out. Be like, hey, you need to work on your stuff. Get rid of it so you don't lose items. On the repair of the Strider mission step, a cry for help, the search radar has been adjusted to correctly lead the player to all 4 tools. This is pretty cool. Bit just quality of life. Primer and detonator icons have been added to all interceptor gear, so that's good. More information so you know when to properly try to detonate your combos. Corrected user interface where a player's ultimate would show as available when it isn't. This is every mission you would start off with a full indicator. It would say you're ready to use it, and then you couldn't. So you'd be sitting there slamming it like, why can I not use my ultimate? It says it's ready. We'd actually gotten used to where you start with a full one, and we'd have to wait until it started pulsating. The meter would pulsate. So that's when you knew it was actually ready. Toggling the HDR option now properly prompts the apply changes button. That's really good because you want your graphics to go through. You want them to be the best, and if you can't apply changes, they're not going to be the best. Player banners should now display correctly. Yes, we were trying to throw up our banners, and it would just not display. So it's like, oh, these banners are really cool. It's too bad they don't show up. Camera shake slider has been added to settings menu. This is great for those who might get motion sickness with the camera shake while flying or while firing weapons. If you really just want it to be smooth, well, now you can use the slider, tone it down.
Yeah.
Players may now track 10 challenges instead of 5. We do like to have as many challenges as possible because, well, I mean, the more progress you can make, the better. An option to adjust screen boundaries on consoles has been added, so great there for the console players. Changing a player banner through the banner menu now properly saves the selection. Again, it's great for UIs, for looks. Health cooldowns and key bindings now light up on supported keyboards. This is good. We like our keyboards to work. We like our key bindings to work, because if they don't, it's out of control. Let's see. Players will now receive more clear messaging when a squad is disbanded or are kicked from a squad. So, yeah, you'll actually know what happened when you're standing there alone and desperate for help, and there's no one to help you. Squad leaders will no longer always show as ready. This is great. This is really great because this is quality of life for me, because every time if I'm not squad leader, every time I come back from a mission, my screen, the very first thing I would see is
waiting on you.
Yeah, waiting on you. Waiting on you. The leader is ready. It's like, I just got back. We just got back. Leave me alone. Alright, the icon for players in a down state will no longer appear in cutscenes. I saw this once. There was a dude that got downed, and then in the cutscene, yeah, it was just like there the whole time. Like, that dude over there is dead.
How embarrassing.
How could you die? Cipher annotations will now appear for more than one player if they are looking at it simultaneously. This is good. More information you have on the screen for helping you, the better. Remove mentions of respawning the player UI when they die in a restricted respawn area. That's quality of life. That's good stuff there. The player banner now updates immediately when updated from the squad screen again back to the banners. I don't see why they didn't line all these up together like banners. Fixed a number of situations where the combo will trigger but no combo floating text appears. Not everyone's going to have floating combo text. I find it to be very satisfying. The mix of the sound, the ka-ching, and the combo. Combo. I find it all to be very satisfying, so I like this. Pressing escape to pass the notification screen no longer opens up the in-game menu. That's handy. I like when my buttons do what they need to do. Quick chat messages will no longer appear from an ignored player. Oh.
Oh, that probably sucked.
Oh, that's pretty handy for getting rid of them stalkers, right? Because, it's like, you can't ignore me. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if you can't handle the jerks around, then, I mean, what's the ignore button for, right?
Yeah.
Removed a message from the mailbox which incorrectly stated that messages will be removed after 3 days. So we removed the message removal message. So that's good. A number of inscription icons have been updated to properly reflect whether they are javelin specific or not. These are good because a lot of them were really hairy. Like, I actually had a couple that were for ranger or interceptor, and it's like, can I make use of these at all? This is just a weird inscription. Corrected an issue where players could not change loadout names on PC. So this is good.
Oh yeah, that wasn't working.
Yeah, I've been default. I've been on default loadout since the beginning. I'm gonna go in and automatically just change all my dudes over, because that way I'll know what my loadouts are. Players no longer need to exit and re-enter the forge for loadout names to update. Again, same thing. That's good. Quality of life. And last, maybe least, The on-screen voice over IP indicator, this would be for voice chat, which shows a player speaking will no longer be active if that player is muted. So if you had players that were muted, I guess we don't really play with randos too much, but if a player was muted, then apparently it was still showing the icon on the screen. I guess you're taking up a few quarters of an inch of my screen, so...
No, not my screen.
And there you have it. The Anthem -day 1 patch is here, and it has been implemented already. This should be... I keep messing this up. I'm just trying to move up. So, there you have it. These are the patch notes. I'm going to go ahead and end it with these numbers here, because I think that might be the most interesting to a lot of folks, and that's what we didn't actually read through. Guys, I hope this helped out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Outside of that, we hope you guys are enjoying the game. We've been enjoying it through early access, and we're going to be enjoying it for a long time to come, I think. We've got quite a few videos on the way. Outside of that, likes and subs. If you're new to the channel, that's all completely up to you. What we do ask for around here, though, is that you consider adopting or rescuing an animal. ASPCA.org, petfinder.com. If you can't bring one home due to allergies, living conditions, what have you, there's plenty of ways to show your love for those animals out there. What are they?
You can also go volunteer and still spend time with the guys. Or you can donate money, old clothes, blankets. They can use all that kind of stuff.
Yep, so if you've got love to give, there's plenty of ways to give it, and there's plenty of good fur babies out there, or scaly babies, or insect babies. I don't particularly like the insect babies, but...
there's something for everybody.
Yeah, anybody out there, or any of the babies out there who need help, there's plenty of ways to show it to them, plenty of ways to show them that love. And guys, speaking of love, we love you guys, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Take it easy.